Good evening. Welcome to LoveLogical, DNA Not Required. This is Michelle L. Anderson, coming to you live from PodcastDetroit, Royal Oak Studios. We are looking forward to intriguing and entertaining you every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Let me start today's show by saying thank you for joining our family, which is biological by nature, LoveLogical by choice, DNA Not Required. Well, hello, everyone. This is Michelle Anderson, and I am excited to be here tonight with you again. I look forward to Tuesday nights and also look forward to being able to find ways to empower my LoveLogicals out there. So every show, people say, well, what does that have to do with LoveLogical? What does that have to do with LoveLogical? And I try to bring it back around so that you can understand that, you know, oftentimes you have LoveLogical families out here, LoveLogical parents who are trying to figure out how in the world they're going to do certain things. So we want to give them information that can help them when it comes to their LoveLogical teenagers to make them be better parents. And sometimes, you know, for the teens, information that's going to help them learn to grow within themselves. And I have a wonderful surprise tonight. Those of you who can see Stacy Shannon Johnson sitting next to me again, this is my LoveLogical sister, y'all. Yes. Stacy has joined the LoveLogical DNA Not Required podcast as one of our co-hosts. So now we have two co-hosts. We have DeLon, my son, DeLon Kennedy, and we have Stacy Shannon Johnson that has also come on to the show. And then, of course, you're stuck with me, you know, your host, Michelle Anderson. So thank you, Stacy. I couldn't help but ask her to be a co-host.
It is an honor and a blessing to... I mean, we always have a great time together.
We do.
God is good. He knitted us together.
Yes.
But to be able to work alongside of you and to learn and to sit at your feet in this business, I am excited.
I'm learning too, and it just feels good to have my LoveLogical sister here with me.
Yes.
So Stacy will be doing shows together. Stacy will be doing shows alone. When there are times that, I need time off. And Stacy will be here, DeLon will be here. So we're going to work out a schedule so that we can make sure that we give you good entertainment. And there's and information, but there may be times where you'll have all three of us here, which is going to be quite soon, because I want us to be able to have an online conversation about the LoveLogical within all of us. So I appreciate that. And with this month, November, being Adoption Awareness Month, I wanted to come a special way tonight. I want to talk about and talk to our families of adoption, the families that have been brought together in a LoveLogical way through the adoption of a child. And most people talk about fostering to adoption. More so than anything else now, you hear about people going to agencies and, adopting children from overseas and things like that. But we have many adoptions that happen right here at home. And when I say at home, I'm speaking, just here in the United States, here locally. There are adoptions that take place. And open adoptions have become a little more common than what they used to be. It used to be once a child was given up for adoption, the parents did not see them anymore and could only hope that maybe when that child got to be older, that child would reach out to them. And now, you have open adoptions where people can see their kids and have time with their children and, and different things like that, depending upon what the agreement is between the biological and the LoveLogical parents. So tonight we have a special guest on the line, and she would like to remain anonymous at this time, and that is something that Stacy and I truly respect.
Correct.
And so we're going to refer to her tonight as Lady M, and she's going to share her adoption story with us. So, Lady M, thank you for calling in tonight and talking to us. We truly appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, of course.
I know you're nervous. I know that you've
Yes.
not shared your story publicly before. And because you do have your children and everything out there, we've agreed to keep your name and everything anonymous tonight. And I respect that because I know how people can be. We are a non-judgmental show,
Yes.
and we're not going to allow anyone to come after you in any negative way at all. I don't play that. The mama in me pops out so fast. The mama in me pops out fast. I like to protect the baby bears.
Yeah.
I do.
Yes.
So, Lady M,
Mm.
would you share how old were you when well, first, I guess, how many children have you given up for adoption?
I have given up two.
Two. Can you share? Do you want to share your age of the first, or would you like to just kind of share what made you decide to place your child into an adoptive, love logically adoptive home as opposed to keeping that child?
Well, I was 24 when I gave my first one up for adoption, and I was in a rough spot at that time of my life, and I knew that I did I did not want to get an abortion, so the only other logical choice to me was adoption. And I knew that I wanted that baby at the time to be loved and
Yes.
protected and raised
Yes.
to the best ability that I don't think I was capable of at that time.
Mm.
See, I called that
And
on my page a selfless act.
Yes.
I'm
Beautiful.
sorry. I'm sorry. Go on. I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Yes.
oh,
Beautiful.
oh no,
Yes.
I was just he, he's a boy. My
Mm-hmm.
first one was a boy, and he was baby number four.
Okay.
And it's just a lot. It was a lot at that time.
Now, did you get to choose his parents?
I did. I did not go through an adoption agency like some people do.
Okay.
Um, I I wasn't doing for a monetary value of any sort.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and at the time, I had known a lady that had knew a lady that can't have kids, and she introduced us.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and she really, really wanted a baby, and there I was.
So she's, excuse
Beautiful.
me, I'm sorry. So she's a good person,
Yeah.
and you knew
She
that.
very
Yeah.
much is.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful.
She's
I
a
yeah.
wonderful mom.
And I tell you, you had my heart when you said that you chose life.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be a very difficult crossroads situation. I wish that I, at one point in time in my life, chose life. And I commend you. I commend you. And you already, haven't met you, but you just have a special place in my heart. You chose life, and you chose to be a blessing. To gift and to bless another family. Uh, so that's a blessing.
It
It's
is,
wonderful.
especially
Yeah.
when you knew that his love logical mom was not able to have children. So you truly gave her a gift of
I
life.
I definitely agree. I didn't mean to cut you off,
No, no, no,
Michelle.
no, not at all. You're good.
I definitely agree, and she even to this day because I do stay in contact with her, and I do get updates on the baby. Well, he's not so much a baby anymore, but a toddler, and um, and he's so spoiled, and not just like with materialistic things, but in love. Like is not treated any different than any other kids of the family because he does have a cousin that's maybe like 4 weeks older than him,
Okay.
and it's they're best of friends. Like they wouldn't know at all. And recently, though, his mom, they had been talking about where babies come from, because he's been curious since he knows now that he didn't come from her belly.
Mm-hmm.
But she explains it to him very well, and even now, like, he's still, like, he's very questionative, like, he's very being very inquisitive about life itself, and I'm blessed to have them in my life
Awesome.
currently.
Beautiful.
It is, because you have a chance to be able to see him as well as communicate with her. And I think that within itself is very special, you know? And
Yes, it is.
does it make it easier for you because you're able to see him?
In a way, yes, it is a little easier, because with him being my first adoption that I had gone through, as every parent knows, that the first thing you do is hold your baby as soon as you have your baby, and I of course declined that, because it would have been a lot harder for me if I held my baby in my hand. And so there was a brief time when it was very difficult, and I was still, like, fighting with myself about it.
Mm-hmm.
But now, like, he's 6, and I wouldn't change it for anything, because he's still so full of life, and I do still get to see him, and I still get to play with him, and I'm invited to birthdays, and we have our own Christmases and all of that, and he still comes and hugs me.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a lot easier for me than just wondering what he might be up to,
Now,
or what he's doing.
What does he call you?
He just calls me my name by my first name.
Okay. So
we don't.
You don't talk about anything being anything else. Just
No,
yeah. Okay.
I leave that up to his mom.
Okay.
Whatever she's comfortable with. I'm just happy that she still allows me to see him, because I mean, she really doesn't have to, like, especially since it wasn't a written contract.
Mm-hmm.
He's now hers, so I severed all ties as soon as he was born, and so I'm just thankful, and I'm very blessed, because my family just got a little bigger.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And the funny thing about his mother is that she's also adopted.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, God, that's God. That's the Lord. He is,
That's amazing.
Yes, because she's really going to know.
She truly understands
they'll
how
have
to
a strong connection.
Yes, and how to talk to him and how to communicate everything to him to where it won't be uncomfortable.
Right. Yeah.
Awesome.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now we've talked about the fact that your first adoption. Now,
Yes.
when was your second adoption?
I was turning 29 in 2 days after I had that baby.
Mm-hmm.
Which was of this year, actually, and she was also placed in open adoption. I do get to see her a little more due to location.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a little girl, and she's getting so big. She was a preemie. I did have her a month and a half early. But she's growing, and she's so spoiled. And I met her mom through my babysitter, actually, her cousin. It's my babysitter's cousin, and I've been with my babysitter for like 2-3 years now.
Okay.
And she knew that I was planning on giving up this baby for adoption, but I was planning on going through an agency since I didn't know anybody else that really wanted another kid.
Mm-hmm.
Or that would be okay with adoption. And she mentioned that her cousin couldn't have any more kids. She does have 2 biological children, but she wanted another one. and yeah, and so she introduced me to her cousin, and she's also a terrific person, um I couldn't be more blessed to have her in my life too. Like I get to see her, like I said, I get to see the baby a little more often than what I do with the baby boy, but I still wouldn't change it for the world. Like I wouldn't.
Now, what made you decide to give your daughter up for adoption this year?
Um, Once again, I was going through another bad patch in my life, and I
Mm-hmm.
was getting things situated and under control. And I found out I was pregnant when I was finally getting there, and I just kind of downfalled again.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want. I chose life over abortion
Amen.
again,
Amen.
and I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want her to not have everything possible that she deserves,
Mm-hmm.
including time and attention and everything. Not that I don't give my kids now attention, because I do have three others, but it would just be a little easier, especially job wise.
Yes, I understand.
Kids do cost a lot of money.
Now, with the fathers, as far as did you have a hard time getting their fathers to sign off for them to be adopted, or were they just
um,
not in the picture at all?
wasn't in the picture at all.
Okay.
On neither of them. So I didn't have a difficult time. It was just me,
Okay.
and I was already a single mom, and all I know is that I would like the kids to be taken care of, to be loved, to have everything that I want them to have, that they deserve to have, that I knew that at the time I couldn't provide.
Like I said, I commend you.
Yes.
I
Yes.
commend you for making the decision that you've made, and the fact that you can see your children. I think that we would have more women who would consider adoption if they knew that they could have the opportunity to see their kids
Yeah.
grow up.
Yes.
I really do. And
And I
go on.
definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
Yes.
What would you what advice would you give to a young lady who is considering adoption but really isn't sure if it would be good for her? Would you have any advice for her at all?
I would personally say to follow your heart. Um, as any parent knows, kids require selfless acts all the time. You're going to have to give up part of your life for this child. Like
Yes.
your whole world is going to have to revolve around your kids.
Yes.
And I would personally, if it comes down to you don't know if you should give up your child for adoption or if you should keep your child, um, I always fall back on what can I provide for my child now? Because in 9 months, that's exactly what's going to happen. Is that you are going to have to provide for your child. Can you give everything possible for this child? You know, you would have to be able to live with that choice, and you know deep down that your child needs all the love and care and money possible, which shouldn't be a subject, but unfortunately is, you know, because money does make the world go around nowadays,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't want to have your child hurt in the long run for a choice now. So I would follow your heart. That's all that you can possibly do between a tough choice. either way.
I appreciate you saying that because I think that it does make a difference. You have a question?
I do. Lady M, you said you have other children. How
I
is it?
do.
How do you explain adoption to your other children?
Well, the other children that I do have are all older.
Oh, okay.
And my oldest is 9,
Mm-hmm.
and he
Mm-hmm.
knows that yes, he has a brother and a sister that does not live with us,
Mm-hmm.
that somebody else
Oh,
does take care of,
okay.
and he's still he. I guess he really wanted another sister
Mm-hmm.
because that's the one that he's really excited about.
Yes.
But maybe it's because he also sees her a lot.
Okay. Yes.
Um, but he still wants, to see the baby
Mm-hmm.
nonstop.
Yeah.
Which the adoptive mom, who also was in foster care, she also dealt with LoveLogical families,
Mm-hmm.
and even her husband did. She explains to her daughter that I gave up that my kids are her brothers and sisters as well. She doesn't differentiate at
Mm-hmm.
all,
Mm-hmm.
I
which is
like
one of the
that.
many things I love about
Oh,
this woman. She's
yeah.
just terrific,
Mm-hmm.
and so yeah, so with my oldest, even my daughter, who's the second child, doesn't mind at all,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, so they still they know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I love the fact that you're blending these love logical
Mm-hmm.
families together.
Yes.
You're creating love logical families and then you're blending them together. So you become more of a blended family,
Yes,
which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And I know when we first talked, you embraced love logical right away. And
I did. Yes,
right away you embraced it and you explained that your life has been about love logical family, you know,
that it
and
has. I do.
yes, and most people don't understand, and I think that that's part of why you have a wisdom and you're not selfish in any way, shape, or form. Some people, they don't want to give up their children, but it's not always because, they can't, it's not their position, but sometimes they just don't want to give them to someone else, just out of selfishness, even though they
And
know
that
that they can't take care of their child.
and
And
that is very true.
yeah,
Very, very true.
I'd rather see someone find a home for their children and get the adoption papers together than to see someone hurt their child, fatally hurt their child, hurt them
Yes,
physically and
Yes.
emotionally over and over again,
Yes.
or, excuse me for putting it out here like this, or sell their children.
Correct.
You
Yes.
know,
yes, and
you,
and that's too right.
yeah,
There's been too
yes,
many cases of that.
and that's real. It's real in today's world.
Mm-hmm.
So
It is.
there are so many love logical homes out here who's looking for children to love and raise, who's willing to work with mothers and families. And we have to understand that a lot of love logical homes, they may take in the children, but they don't have to accept the parents.
Correct.
And the fact that they do, to me, says a whole lot more about them as
Yes.
people. Does that make sense to
Yes,
Correct.
you? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
yes,
Yes.
Yes, it says a whole
yes,
lot more.
Yes.
And the fact that you get to see your daughter on a regular basis, and it sounds like she gets to see her brothers and sisters too.
yes.
They get to see her. See, to me,
They do,
that's awesome.
Yes.
and I definitely agree. I definitely agree. And as you were saying, like people that keep their kids just just because that's the way they were raised, that you don't give up your child out of that selfish reason. Um, I do agree. I don't think they realize that even if you go through an agency, you get to choose the family that you want for your kid,
Okay.
and they'll have
Okay.
It's
a
good to
whole
know.
profile, the whole background, and it doesn't necessarily have to be open adoption. Because I do know some people that prefer closed adoption, for it would be easier on them not to have any kind of contact. And each adoption agency that I have talked to, because I had researched the different adoption agencies,
Okay.
they had they always have a counselor for the whole time, not just like post or pre. Like it's everything. Up to years after you give up a child for adoption,
Oh, really?
and
I didn't know that.
they really do. Like if you just, because postpartum, no one can tell you how long postpartum depression is going to last,
Mm-hmm.
and so they always have somebody on standby for you. It doesn't matter what time. Like you just have to call, and you always have somebody there helping.
Awesome. Awesome.
That's
That's
actually
good.
that's
That's very
actually
good.
good for people
Yes.
to know, because I believe that there are a lot of ladies out here who consider adoption, but they may not because of their family. They're afraid of what their family's going to say.
Correct.
They're afraid of what their friends are going to say, or they're afraid of how they're going to look within their community. But in my heart, if a family is not able to take a child in when a mother knows that she can't handle it,
Yes.
then help her pick a good family for that child.
Yes,
Yes. Yes.
And if you
and I
have the
do
option
I do
of,
agree with that.
yeah, if you have the option of an open adoption, pick a family for the family, but realize that the child is theirs. They have that final say. And if the child should happen to go to a very well to do family, they're not there to pay your bills. They're there to take care of the child. And I think that that's part of why a lot of people choose closed adoptions, because they don't want to have to end up taking care of an entire family.
And I I do agree with all that, but even with closed adoptions, it's it's once that choice has been made, it's not about you or the family anymore. It's about
About
that
the child.
baby that you
Yeah.
brought into. And it's sad to say that I do know people that, well, I've read about people. I won't say know them personally, but I've read about stories of people just having kids to give them up for adoption, because there is monetary value to it. Um, like in your hospital bills, 3/4 of the time is paid for, and all that. But even if that is the case on giving a family, love and a child, there should be, there will never be able to become a time to undo that. And at the end of the day, once again, it's about that child.
I know that surrogacy is different than adoption, but I do know that
Hmm.
surrogacy is very popular now, especially
Hmm.
in wealthy
Yes.
and celebrities. For some women cannot carry a child for health reasons, or some it's just a choice to have a surrogate, and it's there's there's monetary an exchange
Hmm.
of there's payment for that, and it's so that's something that's become more um,
More popular.
popular now in
Yes,
That is
culture.
very true.
Yeah,
it
and
is.
so I'm glad that you brought that up because as culture shifts and changes, and people they're not putting that under the rug now. They're speaking about it, and celebrities are speaking about how being surrogacy is. Excuse me, I won't be drinking Vernors anymore before show. But how
Detroiters know about Vernors.
yeah, but pop is soda pop. But how much of a we're seeing it, and it's not. I don't see it as anything negative. I see it as if someone is blessed to be able to carry a child full term, and to be able to help a couple out. I don't know all of the how much of egg and in the seed and things like that are involved, but it's quite popular now, and I noticed that.
Yeah. Well, surrogacy, like you were saying, it all depends. If it's an older woman and they can't find a viable egg, then you can use a donor egg and then use the father's sperm. Vernors. Sometimes they use both the biological mother's egg and the biological father's sperm and just implant it.
Yes.
So there's so many, and then sometimes they use a donor egg, and it may not be that of the surrogate. So surrogacy's been around for years. It just wasn't as popular as it is now.
Correct.
Because back in my 20s, I had a family member who was having a very difficult time conceiving, who asked me to consider being a surrogate. And I took it into consideration, and I was going to do it, and she got pregnant. So, and my mother used to always say that when women would go so long with trying to get pregnant, that once they stop trying, chances are that's normally when they get pregnant.
Right.
So it was like we had made that decision. We were looking for, a lawyer and everything, and she got pregnant.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want to say, though, that Lady M's story, as I sat down, it is a familiar story in my family. And I don't know what it might have been a similar situation that my grandmother was in that same situation where she had two other children, three other children, and where she wasn't able, and she had a sibling that they wanted a child, and they adopted my aunt. And so she grew up right within the family, and she knew she was adopted, but she had two moms, and that's a beautiful story.
And that's
it is. And I grew up.
Is.
I grew up, and as I'm thinking at the age of 10, you're told this is your honor. Then you hear the story, and you begin to ask. And she was always very upbeat and very positive, a very positive mindset. And could intelligently explain that adoption to me. And but it was many families do have that wonderful LoveLogical adoption story that Lady M is sharing. And and God, I know and I believe that He honors the fact that that Michelle is brave and she chose life. And that's what makes raising a baby, the situation, it'll be even more sweeter.
Yes.
Yes.
It's I have a cousin in our family who was adopted, and we never talked about it. My mother explained to me when I was younger, and my mother also explained to me that it's still my cousin. So. I'm letting you know so that you can get a full understanding that when someone comes into our family, they're family.
Yes.
So that's why I tell people all the time, LoveLogical has been in my world since I took my first breath.
Yes.
So it's like it's about family. When you come into my world, I embrace you, your family. And that's the way that it should be. And Lady M, with you having, the heart to do what you've done and to help these families find joy, that means a lot. And then you can tell by your children's reactions to their LoveLogical
Mhm.
families that they are happy. Yep,
Yes,
that they're
they
happy.
are very happy. They
Yes.
Joy.
even uh the baby girl that I recently gave up. She
Mhm.
does have two brothers on with her family now, and she is just the apple of everybody's eye. Like she has two older brothers, and she could not want for anything.
She's the girl. She's the
And
only girl, of
she
course.
is. She's the only girl,
She's probably
and
pink, purple, and yellow all the time.
She's
all
running
the
the
time. Right
household
now,
for
it's a
sure.
her mom is just very excited at the girl because
Running the
she
house.
wanted to do a mermaid theme, and her
Oh,
husband, of course, is like, no, you can't have a mermaid room for no reason.
oh,
Uh-huh.
And now that she has a little girl, it's like
yeah.
mermaid everything.
Oh
Everything's
my, that's the hot
mermaids.
thing now.
It
Mermaid, yeah,
is.
little mermaid.
And
Okay,
It
or
unicorns.
is.
unicorns. Yeah,
Mermaids and
yeah, yeah. I
unicorns is
remember with strawberry
everything.
shortcake. Okay,
Yes, yes, yes.
or
Right.
Raggedy Ann.
Raggedy
Okay,
Ann, Cabbage Patch
yeah,
Dolls.
I remember. We're telling our age.
But I think that that's so sweet because now she's got two big brothers. She's the girl, and I can imagine because I know families to where they have like all girls and they pray for a boy, or they have all
Yes.
boys and they pray for a girl. So you gave them that little girl,
Yeah.
you know.
Yes.
And for a
Yes.
friend of mine who I was just IMing with the other day, you know, who has all girls, I'm like, well, go on out there and adopt a boy. Go on out there and
Yeah.
adopt a boy, you know?
And it can help change that child's life. Like if it's an older
Yes.
boy, or if you want a baby boy, you can change the the biological mother's life. And
Yes.
This is
and
a beautiful
it really is a
Yes.
gift. Like I came to this understanding within myself that just because I'm not the one raising them,
Mm-hmm.
um, it doesn't matter. It matters that no matter what, the babies that I know I love,
Mm-hmm.
just is going to be even more loved from so many more people, and that's all I ever wanted for any of my kids, is just to be loved and happy and taken care of. And I couldn't wish for anything more for my child than what she already has.
Do you think that you're going to be ready for the conversation that comes with the why did you choose to give me up for adoption that may come at anywhere between, I'd say, 13 and 18 years old, or 13 and
Um,
19?
um, I I don't personally think I will ever be ready for that conversation. I have thought about that
Mm-hmm.
naturally because I don't want them to grow up to hate me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do know people that had gotten so angry once they found out that they were adopted. The only I'm hoping the only saving grace is that I still plan on being in both their lives for
Mm-hmm.
as long as they let me. Because I can't expect more from them. I really can't. And if they're older and they hear my story out and they still don't want me in their life, then that would be a difficult time. But I'm hoping, since we're all very much love logical and all very much there, that they wouldn't want that. And and they could be a little more accepting, of everything.
Yeah. I want to say
But
too. And I'm sorry to cut you off, Lady
mm,
M, but
you're
just
fine.
the love, the environment of that the children are growing up in, and the love, the sacrificial love that you have for your children, and how in the environment that they're growing up in with no judgment and no shame. I think it's going to be a beautiful situation when they
I
find
do
out.
agree.
I just gotta. I'm sorry. I have friends that have adopted, and a lot of times, sometimes it's just the manner of how children are raised and how they're told, and that journey
Yes.
that children know and understand. I am blessed, and they see it as a blessing and not an emptiness. And I believe that, but. I just think
And
that
I believe that's my situation now. I really do.
yeah, yeah.
I love it. I mean, I
Yes.
really do, and I want to encourage more people to consider adoption, especially I know that there's families out there where they can't have
Absolutely.
children,
Yes.
and you may have a husband or a wife that's saying, well, I want to have my own child, but if for some reason you can't, the child that comes into your home, your love logical child is your child.
It
That's why I say DNA not required, because
does not matter.
it is your child.
Yeah.
You're raising
Mm-hmm.
that child. You're giving that child the nurture and nurturing and everything that's needed to mold that person.
Right. I remember being in college, and I remember being, I had gotten pregnant, and I remember being afraid. And then I remember thinking I would be shamed. And I remember thinking, I can't do this. But in our culture, in African American culture, adoption is not explored. And I learned a lot more about adoption through my church because so many adoptive families and our pastor had adopted children, and it really gave me a lot more insight. Of course, as I got older, from the age of 19 or whatever, but had I known now, had I known that back then, I definitely would have given my child up for adoption. And I don't walk in guilt or shame, but I admire her so much. I admire her so much because it could have been a wonderful, loving family that could have said, "Hey, we want to, we understand, your situation, and let us." And it would have been a beautiful situation, and that is a good message. I mean,
There's a lot of positive
yes,
things that have happened
yes,
over the last 25 years or so, because back then adoption wasn't as openly
it
discussed,
wasn't. Yes,
like you said,
No.
within our community. And, like I said, my mother had foster kids 30 some years ago, and, people would try to adopt at that point in time. You have children going into interracial homes now, intercultural homes now, which, back then it wasn't acceptable.
yes,
And it's both ways now. It used to be that you couldn't have children, you couldn't have white children go into a black home, but you would have black children go into a white home. Now it's just open where children are going into homes. You have
a
more,
greater need.
yeah, you have more Hispanic children that are looking for homes now. And I know that international adoption is quite popular. However, I would encourage people to look right here at home,
Yeah. Yes.
Correct.
because you never know
Yes,
what can happen right here at home
correct.
before you reach out. And we have a lot of homes for children around metropolitan Detroit. And I know some people, they look at the fact that, they don't want an older child. But when you go to some of the homes for children, you find toddlers. You find toddlers, 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds who would appreciate having a good place to lay their head.
Yes.
During my Herefordance last year, during Herefordance, I met a young lady who had been in foster care, and she was 16 years old, and her desire was to be a pediatric doctor. And I was like, wow. So we started talking, and she did not, she was in a foster home. She had a LoveLogically fostering home because her biological mother had not helped her much with her career path, but her LoveLogical mom was helping her with her career path.
Wonderful.
And I look at things like that, and I look at homes like that, and it makes me smile because there's so many kids out here that their biological parents could not provide them what they needed for one reason or another, but the love logical parent came in, and it's almost like a cape with a big old love logical heart on it, and everything. You swoop in and you love these kids. You love these kids. I know people who are raising children that belong to someone they once dated, and they're taking care and raising kids, so Love Logical is just what it is DNA not required. And Lady M, you are one heck of a Love Logical heart.
Yes, you are.
You have a
Thank
Love
you.
Logical heart.
Yes, you do.
And you understand what life and what love really means, And you love so hard that you're willing to sacrifice and watch your children being raised in homes where they're going to get so much more love and going to be taken care of in a way that you knew would put such a struggle on you, you wouldn't be able to do it in what you thought was a justly way. Am I right?
Yes. You are very much right.
So I'm happy for you. I'm happy for you and that you were able to make the decision. But I'm doubly happy for you that you were able to find beautiful homes with people with love logical hearts, where not only are you just a family of 5, but you have more than tripled your family just in bringing all
Yes.
these love logical families together.
Yeah. Beautiful love story.
Yes.
Yeah,
Beautiful love
it
story.
is a love story.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Yes.
it is. I won't start singing. No.
You know. Yeah. I know. I know the platform that it's a secular platform, but I can't help but think about that adoption is mentioned in the Bible, and 3 people who were adopted as Moses, and I'm under a tough situation, but he was adopted and loved and reared, and Esther was adopted by her cousin Mordecai and reared, and they did great things for their people. And Jesus Christ was adopted by his earthly father, Joseph. And so we can go back to the Bible, but all of the situations where they flourished because of love, because of the love. And Moses' mom gave him away because she didn't want to see him executed. She wanted a better life for him.
She made that
and
sacrifice.
So I hope you're encouraged by that, Lady M, because just out of the love of a good mom, out of the love of a good mother, So
It takes a lot, and I said, and one thing that people have to understand that, that Joseph was a love logical dad. He was a love logical dad given a great task, and love logical parents. There's such a difference to me between a step parent and a love logical parent. And that difference comes from the fact of, like, and I always say this, my mother, Phyllis Heard, I always say, nobody's stepping on nobody in this damn family. So
but that's where your love comes from. That's where your
it is. It
love
comes,
from.
my mother. Yes.
And I wish that families had more of that.
Yes.
Because sometimes there's a competitiveness, or sometimes there's you not, if you're not blood related, but yes, I love that.
You just gotta love.
Yes,
I
it's
was sharing with
beautiful.
somebody today
Yes.
at my house.
Yes.
I've been helping take care of, raise, nurture, educate, empower other people's children since I was as far back as I can remember, but in my own home since I was 19. Before I had my own child, I had somebody else living with me. So that's just, it's who I am. Right now, I have a young lady that's staying with me, who goes to school with my daughter. And I'm happy that to give the opportunity for her mother to travel, to go to school the way that, to finish up her schooling. And to me, that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to help each other.
Yes, that's what we're
We're
put on
supposed
earth.
that's what we're put here
Yes,
for.
yes,
And
yes,
Lady M, you know that we're here to help each other. You know that
Yes.
because you have provided homes for families that wanted those children
Beautiful.
and love those
Yeah.
children. That's what we're here for. We're here to help raise up our children in the best way that we know possible. And do we make mistakes? Yes, biological and love logical.
Yes.
We
Oh,
make
yes,
mistakes
Yes.
Yes.
because
Yes.
parenting is trial and error.
Yes, it is.
There's
Yes.
no
Yes.
there's no
Yes.
book.
Yeah.
Yep, trial and error.
Yeah.
And anybody out there who can tell me that they know the secret of great parenting, please figure it out. Let me know.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
Because I don't know what the
Yes.
secret is.
I know.
'Cause
I'm looking forward to. Yeah, definitely.
yeah, I want to know too
Yeah.
because I think we all have kids and we'll
Yes.
be like, where that personality,
Yeah,
where that
exactly.
personality characteristic come from? Didn't come from me. Didn't come from Dad. Where did it come
Or
from?
did I accidentally drop him? Because he has lost his mind right about now.
Yeah.
I know you, but I don't know you.
I don't know you.
You know.
So today, to me, we've got to wrap up here, but
Wonderful show.
today has been awesome because I really hope that we've had a lot of LoveLogical families that have been blessed through adoption. Listen in and know that there are mothers out here who made an ultimate sacrifice for you to be able to have the children that you have. They had to make that sacrifice of love. And even if you have children who have come into your home that they have scars in their hearts from their life, life circumstances before they got there. Love them through it. Love them through it.
Yes.
And I'm going to advocate counseling.
Yes.
And if your children are questioning about their biological moms, share as much with them as you possibly could know, and let them know that they were loved dearly, but
Yes.
they needed to have that extra love.
Yes.
And explain LoveLogical to them. Because even my 5-year-old granddaughter, I mean, I'm telling you, she gets it. She'll be like, that's my LoveLogical, right, Grandma? So definitely explain that LoveLogical to them. Because
Yes.
to me, when you have that LoveLogical heart and you know that DNA, DNA doesn't matter. DNA may make us family by blood, but
Yes.
DNA doesn't always have to make us family. So that's why I say biological by nature, LoveLogical by choice.
Yes.
And Lady do you have any last words before I let Stacy close us out here? Any last words to share?
No, I'm just thankful. I'm thankful for everybody that has touched my life, everybody that is in my life, regardless. I'm very thankful to everybody. Thank you for talking with me.
I appreciate you for opening up and talking tonight. I know this was hard for you.
Yes.
Yes, it was, but you are a special somebody, Michelle.
You did it. You did it tonight. So, Miss Stacy?
I hope that you. I'm just hoping that this was been a blessing experience. You said thankful. This is the month of November. This is a month where we celebrate Thanksgiving in this country, and we have so much to be thankful
Yes.
for. You have touched my heart. You did what I couldn't do at 19 years old, and I salute you. And I hope that you may one day reflect on possibly writing a book or maybe a play or a movie about your experience, because I truly believe it will help set a captive free. I believe that it will help someone in that situation. So I salute you.
All right.
Thank you.
So thank you, Lady M. Thank you, Stacy,
Thank
Jay,
you.
and me, Michelle. Thank you, everyone, for listening to us tonight. And it will be on Facebook Live, on all of your streaming channels. and on YouTube next week. Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.